My friends, tonight I invite all United Conservative Party supporters, our party, our caucus, fellow leadership candidates, all of us, regardless of who we supported during this leadership race, to come together and unite for the good of our great province.
Danielle Smith, new leader of the United Conservative Party in Alberta and therefore new premier of the province of Alberta. Joining me to talk more about this is Jamil Jivani, of course, Sun columnist and president of Canada Strong and Free. Did I get that title correct, Jamil?
You did, yes. Thanks, Brian.
So you spend a lot of time in Calgary these days. You spend a lot of time immersed in various parts of the conservative movement. Were you surprised that Danielle Smith won? Were you expecting something different?
No, I mean, Danielle's certainly been perceived as the front runner since almost the very beginning of the race. I think for two reasons. The first one being that, a lot of people who are United Conservative Party members, very let down, disappointed, frustrated with the current government. They felt that Premier Kenney's administration did not handle COVID the right way. And Danielle Smith built a relationship with Albertans through her radio show for 6 years after leaving politics, had a very clear voice of criticism against the Kenney administration's COVID policies. So I think people saw her as a genuine outsider that would bring a different perspective to the government and to the party. Then the second reason, and this was more surprising to me, is that Brian Jean just didn't seem to be able to maintain momentum. I mean, people credit him with sort of pushing Jason Kenney out of the way. When he burst back onto the scene and won a by-election in Fort McMurray, that really did trigger many of the events that led to Jason Kenney leaving the party. And yet Brian Jean couldn't really seize that momentum for himself. It seems like Danielle Smith kind of took that momentum from him, which was a bit surprising. But certainly I think Danielle has been perceived as the front runner, and the results seem to indicate that the polls are right the whole time.
It's been a bizarre situation with Brian Jean. He lost the leadership of the United Conservative Party to Jason Kenney, then spent the last several years trying to undermine him even before the by-election, and then after, as a caucus member, undermining him. To me, that never sits well because it says you're not a team player, but you want to be the team leader. For Danielle Smith, I'm surprised that there wasn't a bit more pushback. I covered Danielle a lot when she was leader of the Wild Rose Alliance, was out there for some election night coverage over the years, covered when she tried to merge the Wild Rose with the former PC party when Jim Prentice was premier, without telling the party. I mean, there was a lot of controversy, and she's also very much on a libertarian bent, or has been in the past. And in the past, at least, wasn't open to social conservatives. So a lot of the people who are upset at COVID measures or how COVID was handled would also be on the social conservative side. So I was a bit surprised at the way she was able to garner support, but maybe her views have changed since her days as Wild Rose leader.
Well, what I would say, Brian, is that of the seven candidates who are running to be leader of the UCP to replace Jason Kenney, there is a tone of apology for pretty much all of them. And what I mean by that is the ones who are currently in government, who are in Jason Kenney's cabinet, were constantly apologizing for some of the decisions made, like the lockdowns, like the jailing of pastors, things that were deemed controversial. And so when Danielle Smith also came in and apologized for some of the decisions she made in the past, it sort of felt like it was part of the broader vibe of the leadership race, that everybody had something to apologize for. And it was almost like everyone was asking voters for a blank slate and a second chance. So in that sense, I think that's partly why voters were able to see Danielle in a new light. And she did communicate, her regrets very effectively. She's a fantastic communicator, as her being on the radio for so long.
I was a guest many times with her. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think she was able to persuade people that she's changed in the ways that they would want her to. Now, she'll have a chance, as leader of the party and premier of the province, to actually prove that she's changed. But I think she was persuadable to a lot of people, or persuasive.
It's not the time to punish our fellow Conservatives for past mistakes. This is why, as Premier and leader of this party, I am wiping the slate clean.
Oh yeah, I'll leave it after this question, and that's where do they go from here? She has admitted that she doesn't really want to call an early election and seek her own mandate because they could very well lose. UCP has been struggling against the resurgent NDP.
To protect our fellow Albertans from the NDP Liberal coalition in Ottawa and to lead this party to a resounding victory against the NDP in 2023.
Are they able to get over the NDP coming up in some way, shape, or form and stay in power?
Well, I think with the big elections we've seen provincially this year in Ontario and in Quebec, what has become clear with the majority wins for Premier Ford and Premier Legault is that if voters think you're competent, if they can trust that you can do the job, even if they might have criticisms, they might not think you did it perfectly, but if they think you can do the job and they trust you, it goes a long way. So if I were Danielle Smith, if I were the UCP in Alberta, I'd be trying to demonstrate that between now and the election date in spring 2023. Can you show competence? Can you show that people can trust you? Because that will go a long way to kind of respond to and push back against criticisms from the NDP that are going to try to make Danielle Smith look like she's untrustworthy, that she's unpredictable, that she's not fit for the job of premier.
What do people want at the end of the day? Someone who won't wreck the place. That's a driving motivation for an awful lot of voters. Jamil, thanks so much. We'll hand it over to the audience. Let us know what you think. Drop a comment down below. Share this on social media. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel.